Hey Truth Seekers, it's Nathaniel and Carolyn here, and we are doing a deck profile of a Universal and Holy Spirit deck.
Yep. So I created this last night. We play tested it and it runs really well. So starting off, since we are mainlining Red Letter Day cards, we are using Brianna. Otherwise, I would probably be using Simon. That is another really good Truth Seeker for this deck. But I am using Brianna, and she says, before the game begins, separate any 3 cards from your deck and place them face down beneath this card. Once per turn, you may select one of those cards and place it in your hand. So she's really great utility. Typically what I'm doing with her is I am putting a Cine, a power card, and either an Ultra and or an equipment card. Both of those work really well for her. So I am using 4 of our Holy Spirit power cards here because I do need to see that Holy Spirit, and I can use them to pay for the universal costs of my Animo as well. And also, fasting. I run 3 fasting. It works extremely well in this deck for various reasons, but it is the same kinds of Animo that I have in my deck. So I'm running 3 of those. Beginning off, I have Servidude from CrossTrainers. He is basically a utility card that I'm going to leave in my deck because I can't ever actually activate him, so that's fine. Using things like the ability on Paul's Chains to discard your card, that is the ideal goal for this card. Otherwise, I just have him in there, and I can use things like Peter's Vision or some other things to remove it. But yeah, so he just kind of sits over there and stays. Again, for utility cards, I am running 2 Fuzzworm level 1 and 2 Fuzzworm level 2. And this says you may choose to discard an equipment card that is attached to this card. If you do, you may draw 4 cards. So I run 2 sets of these because I really want to see these because I need that draw power in this deck. Again, for draw power, I'm using Guppies, level 1 and 2, the Red Letter Day Guppies. And he says, when this card is played from your hand to grow Guppies level 1, you may reshuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. Super helpful when you just really have a crap hand. Don't fight with the dog while I'm recording a video.
Sorry.
I run 2 of the shiny Nico level 1s. He was from the Bible verse challenge recently. I run 2 of him, 2 of Nico level 2, and 2 Nico level 3. So he is really awesome in this deck. Searching your discard pile for the next growth stage of any Animo in your small group, you may instantly grow those Animo. Is really great, except for somehow every single time I've used him, I have not been able to use his action. But that's okay. That happens sometimes.
I mean, you used him in a combo to get like 23 points in a single turn and proceed to win the following turn.
That is true. I'm running 2 Floraline from CrossTrainers. Can't talk. So I'm running 2 of the level 2s from CrossTrainers for the ability that this card has no activation costs when facing a Cine. I've also only been able to use that once in the 3 games that we actually did. Otherwise, I had to pay for it, but that's okay. I am, however, running 2 of the Universal Floraline from Red Letter Day as the level 1. I did this for various reasons. The biggest of which being I wanted to be relatively equal between my Universal and my Holy Spirit Animo. And this allows me to be able to play it with my fasting if I need to play the level 1. And then I can grow it into the Holy Spirit. So.
And the other one was cost 3.
Right. That is also true. I will end up probably removing these for something else, but currently I am running 2 Quillo level 1. I am not running any Quillo level 2 in this deck. They're just a small 3-for-1, which I enjoy, having that ability to do that, because I can play this with Brianna on my first turn if I need to, but I will probably end up removing these eventually. I am running 3 of our Immersifier here. This card is in your small group. You may choose to swap it with a level 1 Animo from your deck with a victory point of 7 or less. shuffle your deck afterwards. So this one is great just because I can go get my other cards out here if I need to, like my Fuzzworm level 1 or other things like that. Searching for those level 1s is really helpful. I run 3 prayer group, and I have one of these under Brianna as well, but I just really like being able to get a lot of points all at once. And if you have all 3 fasting out there, this card is a no-brainer. You may activate this card with up to 6 of any power. When activated, this card is worth 3 virtue points for each power that is used to activate it. So it is a very, very cheap 18 points. And if you add other things on top of it, it is awesome. So.
Yep, 3 power cards for 18 points.
Psh, heck yeah.
Because fasting.
And then I also go all in with 3 Alpha Lux Ultras. I have no megas in this deck because I like this bad boy. And being able to play both of these in a single turn is really great. Because I can use my fasting for this one and I can use the other 3 cards for this. It is awesome. So also using this combo with the broken jar is just kind of busted. So yeah, I went all in on the Alpha Lux Ultras because Jesus Dragon. Moving on to my equipment, because I have Fuzzworm, I have a lot of equipment cards. I probably would not run this many in a normal deck just because. However, Myrrh is a no-brainer for this deck. Removing that Holy Spirit cost of the Holy Spirit Animo is really helpful in getting those extra points when really needed. Also, because I run Holy Spirit, this is the Sword of the Spirit, which allows Holy Spirit Animo to gain 3 virtue points when attached. Also, I can use this to attach to Fuzzworm for draw power. So either way, this card is very useful, which is why I have this one in there. For Universal and really any card, Broken Jar is great. It's basically a 1 for 5, but you're not clogging up your small group with extra Animo. But attaching this to like Alpha Lux Ultra, pay 2 fasting for it and you're good. I mean, it's just a really nice card to have. But again, I can use it with Fuzzworm as well. This one I kind of just threw in there specifically for Fuzzworm, but also I don't have a lot of draw power for power cards. So this one I can like throw it on Fuzzworm, use its thing, and then discard it if I want to. It's kind of a universal good card, but I will probably end up exchanging this one for something else if I feel like something else is better. Possibly another Pulse Chains. So we just don't have any other Pulse Chains right now. We need to order some of those. Pulse Chains. So the ideal goal is to attach Pulse Chains to Servitude. That way I can use its ability, and when needed, I can discard Servitude from my small group and place something else there to hopefully win the game that turn. So this is very helpful. Again, if that is not in the ideal situation, I can always attach this to Fuzzworm, use its ability, and then use it to draw more cards anyway. Moving on to story cards, because there's a lot of growth stages in this deck, I use Ascension. And this has helped me go from Nico level 1 to Nico level 3. I may or may not add a couple more of these. Just having one has been really helpful because I've typically seen it when it has been needed thus far. I run the Runaway to help me get the Animo from my discard pile. Typically, I'm going to use this after I've used like Prayer Group or Alpha Lux and go grab those because it is awesome. Or if I need it for a lower growth stage that I had to use earlier on in the game. I have Sandcastle to search for my Alpha Lux Ultras because Alpha Lux. I have Bible Study, which helps me to grab any of my Holy Spirit Animo, which can help me grab growth stages. It can help me grab my Floraline level 2. It can help me get my Fuzzworm. It can get quite a few things. So like I could use this and Pulse Chains and go get my Fuzzworm level 1 and level 2 and boom, like I'm good to go. So it's pretty great. I have a copy of Fishing Nets in here for that draw power that this deck kind of lacks when I don't have things set up in the proper way. So that's a good draw card. Hidden Treasure as well, but being able to place one back on my deck is really helpful if it's a card that I don't want to use at that point or I can't use at that point. This is just an easy way to draw more cards. And the Rich Fool draws the bottom 3 cards of my deck. There are certain ways to stack your deck. I don't believe there's really any ways to stack your deck in this particular deck, but this is a really nice card just to draw. And then I have copper coins to help me get my power cards in place if I need them. Again, having one under Brianna is really helpful, but not always everything that I need. Moving on to my Cinnies, I have Judge Weed. As long as the Cinny is active, your opponent may not reveal any Cinnies. Super helpful. Not necessarily as helpful early game, but it's really helpful later on in the game. I have Grump Roast, which allows my opponent to have no more than 3 Animo in their small group at a time, which really frustrates Nathaniel's plans, and it feels really good when that happens.
Yes, why all my plans?
And that's also why I keep Zapper King in here, because Zapper King. Your opponent may not play any level 1 Animo from their hand into their small group the next turn, which can typically stall an entire game if played in the proper timing against the proper decks.
I have a question for you about that.
What?
Between Zapper King and Judge Weed, which one do you think is a better fit for under Brianna?
Zapper King. Globster. He is repulsive. As long as the Cinny remains active, your opponent must discard the top card in their deck as soon as their turn begins before drawing cards. This is especially helpful when you know that they have been able to stack their deck in some way. I have Bob Bubble. He is pretty cool. He's a 10. As long as this card remains active, your opponent may not have more than 1 Animo of the same name in their small group at a time, which really helps against things like Stagnetic. And then I have Grumble. He is kind of what has taken place of my Mega in this particular deck build, because he is 13. That is the highest Cinny that is not a Mega other than our Flipper over here. And he's just really helpful to fight things without being a Mega, so he's not clogging up my 1 of 3 Ultra or Megas in the deck. And then lastly, we have our smallest and yet the highest Cinny at the same time. This is Flipper. If your opponent has 40 points or more, then this card is a 17. If it is 39 or less, it's just a 7. And so he's really cool. I just really like this Cinny in general. But yeah, he's really great in this deck. Again, he is really big under certain circumstances without clogging up my Mega or Cinny spot, and that is my cat's ear. So that is our Holy Spirit and Universal deck for Red Letter Day and CrossTrainers mixed in.
All right, so in the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Cinnies.